Speaking of planetary and ecological disaster, there was a headline in the New York Times the other day that it's one of those interactive things that I think maybe some newspapers over rely on, but still, it was interesting. The headline read, "Try the climate challenge, can you save the planet?" Now, as you might expect, this was one of when you went into it, this was one of those interactive things where you have different options. It really wasn't not that well done, to be honest, but where you could change this country's output or that country's output to try to reduce the impact of climate change. Now, for all my criticisms, I'm glad that they are spotlighting this issue. It's important, of course, to keep the focus on climate change, so good for them for doing that. But my first reaction when I saw this headline, and again it was "Try the climate challenge, can you save the planet?" My first reaction when I saw it was, I know how to do it. First, we save the planet from predatory capitalism. See, that way we can do all the other stuff we need to bring carbon emissions down. So what's my prize? But when I clicked on it, it wasn't even an option. So obviously we need better options for climate change. The fact is, as we live through this season of hurricanes and storms and other environmental devastation, we need to keep in mind that there are underlying problems that, unless they are solved, will prevent us from protecting the planet itself. Now, others have written about this, Naomi Klein and others. It's certainly something we understand, but it's something we need to feel at a visceral level, or, to be honest, we won't act in time. We've already done irreparable harm to the planet. There's already every likelihood that we will see many millions of climate refugees in the next 50 to 100 years, but we can mitigate the damage. We can still make this a place where our children and grandchildren will want to grow up. We can still do that, but we have to act, and we have to act quickly. One of the reasons why I call this show The 0 Hour is because we have to act quickly. If we're going to do that, we need to be very honest about the fact that the profit motive is driving all of it. And the profit motive is polluting our politics just as much as it's polluting our planet. I'm thinking, of course, of the Koch brothers and the obscene amounts of money they put into the political process, while at the same time despoiling the planet so that they can keep on despoiling the planet. But I'm also thinking about the more liberal politicians who pulled their punches on doing everything we need to do, because to really address climate change, we are going to have to inconvenience a lot of people who are profiting from our current economic system, and we're going to have to inconvenience ourselves. We just have to be honest about that. We have to look to other ways of living. There is not going to be a magic bullet to climate change. We are going to have to learn to live and walk on the earth with less, at least less in the way of consumable fossil fuels. And for that, we will need to have to look to and learn from those who have been doing that for millennia. On that score, I was sorry to hear this week that the Oneida Nation is closing the Indian Country Today news outlet. I am a regular reader of Indian Country Today. It's a very useful source of information about Native Americans. I would also add that I was raised on ancestral Oneida land in Utica, New York. I hope my family didn't do too much harm while we were there, but it is very important that we rescue sources of wisdom and insight like Indian Country Today. It is very important that we rethink our relationship to the economy and restructure our relationship to the planet.